we want to impact women globally. So, what's going to get us there? And ultimately not just impact, but, we envision more women having the ability to invest with each other through, a platform we create. So you really are bringing together active investors and passive investors. That would be really amazing. One of our, long-term goals, just to be able to do some of that, whether it's crowdfunding. I don't, exactly know the format, but that would be really neat. That's happening now. It's just not, kind of orchestrated, through us, but would be kind of neat to see, literally women being able to come together.
Your network is your net worth. Come listen to some of the most successful people I know share invaluable knowledge, stories, and advice in real estate, business, and beyond. This is Weiss Advice. Whether you want to take your business or personal life to the next level, look no further. Welcome back to Weiss Advice. I am your host, Yona Weiss, and with me today I have Liz Faircloth. How you doing today, Liz?
I'm doing great, Yona. Thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. You guys may have heard of Liz if you've ever listened to the Bigger Pockets podcast. She's been a guest on that and a contributor for many years to the Bigger Pockets blog, as well with her husband, Matt Faircloth, who incidentally was a guest on Weiss Advice podcast a few months ago. So go and check that out as well. An awesome conversation there. But without further ado, I'd love to just introduce, she's got something really special going on in a few weeks' time. And I just want to start the episode off by kind of plugging that, and then we can actually unwrap that and get behind, what it is exactly that you're doing. So Liz, you want to tell us about the Real Estate InvestHER Summit?
Sure. So we have our second annual summit coming up. We do one a year. So we kind of pour ourselves into that to make sure it's like literally the best event we possibly put together for the year, et cetera. We started with our first one last year, right when COVID hit. And we're really excited about this year's summit. So what we're planning, I know people are kind of, getting a little frustrated with Zoom and this and that, but we're really actually putting together a really amazing online live event that will also be experiential. So we have speakers, women speakers coming from various focuses all around investing, business, and self-care. We have our keynote is Lisa Nichols, who's all going to be focused on breaking through fear. We have women talk about lead generation, raising private money, land flipping, Airbnb in a box, building a culture, and the list just goes on and on. So really excited about this. We're doing a mastermind breakout session during the day as well. You know how it goes so you don't just keep getting spoken to, right? You want to engage, you want to, connect with other people. So we have a number of our volunteers going to be doing some breakouts. We're really excited about that. And then actually after the event, all of our VIP guests will be actually put in accountability groups. So they're actually going to get a group of women, 6 women that they now have, a connection with. They're not only going to get contact information, but we're actually putting together best practices and like a script and really how do you run accountability groups? Because we're all about empowering people. We're not going to do it for you, right? We're all about giving you the tools necessary so women can live an empowered life, financially free. So yeah, we're really excited about it. Literally just every day working really hard to put together the best event. So
awesome. So anyone who's interested in that, where can they find out about that summit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Put a link in the show notes to whatever you say here. So
yeah, that'd be great. It's you can really learn more about all the speakers and all the things we have put together for you, all the recordings. It's the Real Estate InvestHER, HER.com/level up. And that is the theme I forgot to mention. It's our theme for this year. It's all about leveling up our minds, our skills, our knowledge, et cetera. So yeah.
Awesome. So that's the realestateInvestHER.com. So you are the co-founder of this movement, right? The Real Estate InvestHER, which, includes not only a podcast that you and your partner put together, but also meetups throughout the country, empowering women to be involved in real estate investing, right? And teaching them. You've been in the industry for a long, quite a while. And I'm not sure exactly how many years, but many. And, through all of your experiences, you're just trying to show and help others, like you said, empower women to take their responsibility, kind of take their lives of financial freedom into their own hands through real estate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, it's funny because I've always had a passion for supporting women in particular. I came from corporate. But I wrote a business plan when I was actually got my degree in social work, master's degree in social work, long before I started investing in real estate, totally unrelated topics, right? Social work, investing. But during that time, I actually took a business class, an entrepreneur class. I was at school for at Penn. And so I'm at the best, literally the best school for the best, one of the best business schools in the
Right.
world. So I might as well take a class, and I figured it out, finagled my way in. And I wrote a business plan about creating an organization to support women. That was 20 years ago. And so I just put that on the shelf. And then as I partnered with my friend Andressa on real estate deals, we were doing some flips and new construction, still very active in the business, and obviously very much in multifamily. But with her, we were working on a number of things in Philadelphia. That's where she lived. And we'd get together and we're like, wouldn't it be great to get more women together to just kind of share ideas, best practices? We Googled it. There wasn't much where we were looking, and
Right.
we're like, wouldn't it be neat to start something? And that's kind of really came out of the need of creating something for ourselves. Right. So we didn't create this for others, and we're not learning and growing as well.
Right.
So I like to say we're really creating a movement in a sense of women supporting women, right? They're not all going to get it from me and Andressa, right? We don't know everything. We know what we know, and that's awesome. But there's a lot of women who know a lot of information. So that's what we're all about.
A lot more experience as well. And everyone brings something else to the table. So it's kind of what you've built is, just this great vehicle and just bringing people in, allowing them to kind of get on the bus together so that everyone can benefit all together. I love that. That's awesome. And like you said, at that time when you guys started this, and even now I've seen a few more of these type of groups pop up, but what you've done is kind of a national thing, with locations, literally meetups and masterminds all around the country. So that's pretty cool. I mean, it's something that is pretty unique in a way. And you just published or published the first book within this. So tell us a little about that. I mean, one of our first guests on the Weiss Advice podcast helped publish that, Ashley Wilson.
Yes.
So tell us about that. The only woman in the room.
Only woman in the room, and it's something that a lot of women have faced, especially in more male dominated, if you will, industries.
Yeah.
And when it comes to investing, it is still male dominated. And what's fascinating is when you look at all the statistics, which I can go through now that I've learned a lot of this stuff in terms of women that invest, men that invest, and what that means. But Ashley Wilson was one of our meetup leaders, one of our first meetup leaders. So she was kind of in our community, in our circle, and she wanted us to be in her book. And this was, about a year ago. And we said, that's awesome. We're like, let's think about publishing this book. And so this is our first venture of publishing a book. And our goal is to publish a book every year. And so we highlight women's voices and in different walks of life. But this is a very special book. There's 20 different women who kind of like have all different ethnicities, ages, walks of life, areas they live in, and just how they got into investing, upbringing. So it's really neat. And each story kind of shares its lessons, both with mindset, but also like tactical how-to. So I'm really proud of the book. It's a wonderful book. Ashley kind of brought to the table and really birthed, if you will, and we partnered together to get it out there. So it's still getting really good reviews and really good positive feedback. So it's a great first book that we've published.
No, it's great. I think I've seen it around quite a bit. A lot of people were involved in that and had great feedback from it. So that's impressive. And to have that kind of venture, to want to do something like that continuously, kind of build the brand of the Real Estate InvestHER brand is a great way to do it. Just getting your name out there, whether it's through the summit, the podcast, online communities, and things like that. As you mentioned, this is something that you guys have been transforming really through the process. Mm-hmm. What are some of the, maybe one thing that kind of like you've learned along the way, whether it be from the real estate investing itself, something just from someone else brought to the table that you had no idea about, or whether it's just from the actual development of this community or this business that you can maybe to our listeners can take away some practical advice?
I think when we started, Andressa and I were super intentional about who we wanted to serve. We were very intentional with what we wanted to do, but often people just cast a really, really wide net. And that typically doesn't get you the results you want because you're trying to serve everyone. Mm-hmm. I'll talk to investors all the time and say, what type of, project are you looking for? No one's specific. And I feel like the more successful people get, the more specific they are in
Mm-hmm.
their answers. So, and so when we started, we said, who do we really want to serve? Are we going to serve all women, all ages? Who is it that we want to serve? And so the women that we serve are in a lot of ways similar to us, right? They're trying to balance this wanting to create financial freedom on their own terms without like literally taking all their time in their life and equating it to doing this
Right.
one thing. Because as women, as people, right, we can't, it's really hard just to
Sure.
just put all energy into one basket. So we knew that was interest of ours, and we knew that would be of interest to other women, where they weren't just doing it out of like, I'm going to work really hard. Like, yeah, you can work hard and it takes hard work, but how do you do it in a way that you have balance, and you do it in a
Mm-hmm.
way that works for you on your own terms? That was really important to us. So we've always been really crystal clear on who we wanted to serve. And so that really helped us then attract more women who are like, this is a community I want to be a part of. All of our meetup leaders are volunteers. We have 47 meetups, and
Wow.
these are women who have come forward to lead a meetup. We help them, they help us. It's a great relationship, but they're the women we're serving, right? And in all different walks of life. So I think that's really a learned lesson. We did it, but now as in hindsight, it really helped us create this like neat way to like, okay, you can't serve everyone. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you want to serve? I mean, I had people say early on, you're not going to have enough women to interview. You may want to have some men interviewed as well, just in case. And I said,
Right.
I'm not interviewing a man on our podcast. I'm sorry. It's called the Real Estate InvestHER Show. I mean, I think men are amazing. I work with a lot of amazing men. You're amazing. But the show is for women. So I'm not going to interview men. So, but that's what I was told literally 3 years ago. This wasn't in the 70s.
Right.
This was a few years ago. Right. So, it's just interesting. And I think that helped us get really refined. And it was about giving and serving. We didn't ask for $1 from anyone for a number of years, up until last year, we did our summit. And that was intentional because we really wanted to build a community.
Right.
Now women have come forward. Hey, do you do this, do that? And we're building out some paid memberships and really neat things that we're doing that so we can help more women, quite honestly.
Absolutely.
So anyway, that was, I think, a big learned lesson. People want to serve everyone. And I think in your investing business, in any sort of line of work, you got to get really refined of who do I want to serve? What pain am I solving for them?
Right.
Because if you don't have those answers, anything you do is going to just going to throw it up on the wall and see if it sticks. And the world is too noisy right now. It's just way too noisy to get traction that way.
Absolutely. You have to have like you said, not only the business plan and the why, but the who. And I think that's so important. And to narrow that down as much as possible. I mean, they talk about really marketing in general. People who are in the marketing industry stress the finding your ideal client, right? Who is that ideal client? Who is that avatar, if you will, like that. And the more you can define that, the more success you have at actually pinpointing and getting that end result, because your consumer, whatever it's going to be, whether it's, through the volunteers, through the meetups, through the listeners of the podcast, whatever that end consumer is, if you can define that and you know exactly, and in your messaging, you are giving that across, then you'll be so much more successful because everything is targeted and everything is going to be, hitting that target. It's not just, like you said, throwing it out there and hoping something sticks. You really can serve a lot more people that way because you're serving people with much more quality, I think also. And that's awesome. On a personal side, right? You and Matt together, business partners. What's that like? I mean, working together with your spouse. I mean, you guys invest together. You do a lot of, now you're doing multifamily commercial deals together. What's, you find challenges in doing that? Or, I mean, besides for the shared office space, obviously, I remember when he was on the show, you had to take down the picture frames and put up his own picture frames.
A little strategy there. We've evolved. We have evolved over the years. We started out, he quit his job first. So back in, I guess it was back in 2005, he quit his job. We got married. He quit his job. I kept working for the consulting firm in corporate that I was working in, and then helping him when I could and on the side and all that sort of thing. In 2008, I quit my job. And so from 2008 to 2010, it's like literally the worst timing.
Right, the worst time.
But it's literally the worst timing. We worked full time together, right? So, and then that was a disaster on a lot of different levels, right? So not only was our business hurting for a few different reasons, but then we were like just, financially at odds, right? We were depleting savings. We hadn't really built up a nest egg to really financially stay. So I'm going to answer your question, but I'm going to give a little
Yeah.
historical
Yeah,
view here
please.
because it's a unique one. And so then I went back to my old job that I had left 2 years prior in 2010. And then in 2013, I left kind of for good, my consulting work, and we had our first kid, our first child, and we have two now, 2013. So then I went back to working with him on a part-time basis in our business, but I always had this yearning to like do my own thing too. I
Mhm.
love investing, but my husband and I like literally day to day working together doesn't work. We work very well, like strategically. We do have meetings. I know what's going on in our business, and I'm focused on certain things in our business, but not like everything. He runs the day to day of our syndication business. We're very clear with that. But I always wanted to like have my own thing too. I was running my own consulting company, and then I had
Mhm.
two little ones. And I'm like, now I'm just like my husband's helper. Like this is not empowering for myself. And I'm someone who likes to do my own thing.
Right.
So InvestHER also served that need where I can really, which is really taking most of my focus and
Right.
professional focus now, that I can dive into. I think you have to know it works for a couple. And my husband and I have learned from literally working part-time, full-time, every which way together over the past 15 years, we finally know what works. And so when I have like my lane and I'm working on a project and he has his lane and we're very clear on roles, it works. And when we could talk kind of strategically and support
Mhm.
each other, it works. When I did all of our investor relations. So I literally worked with all of our investors up until 2 projects ago. I was in, communication with them, helping. That was my role until we hired someone. And that didn't work for us, right? So now every day I'm like, hey, so and so wired the money. It's 2 weeks till closing, and it was so nitpicky. So when my
Mhm.
husband and I work together on things that are like more tasky, it
Yeah,
doesn't work for us. When we work more globally, it works very well for us. I
that
guess
makes
is the
makes a lot of
best.
sense.
Not that I can't work day to day with him. I love my husband. We're very similar though. And I think when you have personalities that are very similar, it's tough. Where you have someone who's more like dominant, less, and that works, because you have complementary styles.
Right.
We actually are very similar. So it makes sense we can come together on strategic things. We're looking at investing more passively now in different deals. I'm in charge of that. And I'll go to him and we'll brainstorm and then I run with it. And it
Oh, that's
works
great.
really well. And I'm like, what do you think of this? And it's really fun to work collaboratively on that. But I'm
That's
kind of
great.
leading it and coming to him after.
No, that's
And
great.
then,
When you can define your roles and define like every any business partnership, right? I mean, you
yeah,
have to have people. If you have two people with the same skill sets, they're not going to be a great partnership. You have to have complementary skill sets to make a real great business partnership. And I think that's the trial and error really
yeah.
helped you guys get to that, and that's amazing that now in fulfilling that need that you have within the investor community,
Hmm.
as well as like you mentioned, now doing kind of handling some passive investments and that kind of spectrum, that really does open up more opportunities.
Yeah.
So that's incredible, and I think more and more couples are coming. I mean, I've been in the industry for a handful of years, and I've just
Yeah.
started to see more recently like couples kind of coming together and running businesses and doing it together more than ever. So
And it's so important, right? Because you can really build something together but it's tricky. It's not like this. I find it tricky. I don't think it's like as cut and dry because, we always say like our marriage comes first, right?
mhm,
We didn't meet each other and become business partners first.
right.
We were married first. And we actually have a lot of fun together. We enjoy each other's company. But when we get into like tasky stuff, we can be very, all the fun goes out the window. And I'm like, that's not how we got married. So when we can keep like that, I really enjoy my husband's company most of the time, of course. I love him dearly. But you need to keep those things in check. Like, we have business meetings and then we'll go for a bike ride. Well, we haven't done that in a while, but we tend to like to do that, do something fun afterwards. So you can incorporate some levity to it. This is your person that you're married to. You shouldn't
Yeah,
just be all like work,
of course. No, of course.
because that's not, it doesn't, again, it has, that we used to do that and that did not work for us either. So literally we just taken all the things that haven't worked and said, okay, how do we make it work,
Exactly. Exactly. And that really probably builds you guys even more because of
Yeah.
that.
Yep, absolutely. And I could take that into like, my partnership with Andressa and just, Because when you're in a partnership, it is a marriage. It is her and I complement each other really well, very different. And we've really grown together. And so I'm very grateful for that. And keep working on it. And it's, which is, I'm very, very grateful for, but it doesn't come without working on it and improving on it in open communication.
Sure.
And also just some honesty and authenticity, because you can't always be right, or you have to kind of like, okay, I need to look at myself here. I need to look at my own hangups, whatever those are. We all have them, and you have to be honest with yourself.
So what's kind of the goal do you see like a 5-year, 10-year, like where do you see the investor community going to, do you kind of see an end goal with that, or is it just kind of taking it as it goes?
I think when we started, we were a little more like just super passionate about, we are still passionate, but it was more, let's just do this first and then see where that goes. And there's something about that, right? Because you let things evolve organically.
Right.
And I think a lot of our early growth was really from that. It wasn't like, we're going to do that, now, and obviously as you grow, you have to be more intentional. We want to impact women globally. So, what's going to get us there? And ultimately not just impact, but, we envision more women having the ability to invest with each other through, a platform we create. So you really are bringing together active investors and passive investors. That would be really amazing. One of our, long-term goals, just to be able to do some of that, whether it's crowdfunding. I don't, exactly know the format, but that would be really neat. That's happening now. It's just not, kind of orchestrated, through us, but would be kind of neat to see, literally like, women being able to come together,
right,
and really invest together and do more of that kind of those more projects. We're one of Andressa's passionate projects too, and I'm very passionate about it, is actually doing more women only projects, right? To just show that more in terms of construction and just highlighting women in the business.
Mm-hmm.
That would be, we're thinking of more of those things. Obviously, education is going to be a major part of it,
right.
But then it's like, okay, moving beyond that, like how does the next generation get impacted? And my daughter's 4, right? So, wouldn't it be cool to do more do more kind of hands-on projects globally, and then we're partnering with nonprofits along the way as well. More of that is going to happen. So yeah, beyond the just more impact globally. We're kind of like, we have a few different ideas on how to do that, but I think it'll also evolve. And I think for very focused people who want to see the plan come together in a certain way, which I am typically, I've come to like peace with having a goal, certainly, and having a focus, but also letting things evolve and listening to what's happening and shifting and pivoting, because sometimes things don't happen the way we want them to. I know it hasn't for our investing business, but I think I would have had more peace in the 15 years of investing if I just let things evolve a little more versus controlling everything. So I'm trying to be very, mindful of that mix, because maybe that's just where I am in my life.
Right.
But yeah, I just a global impact in seeing women living life on their terms and having more financial security and abundance.
Yeah. That's so important. And we actually recently interviewed someone else on the podcast with a very similar vision. It's actually funny. The names are almost interchangeable. You got InvestHER, and this is, I don't know if you know Kaylee McMahon from Dallas, but she's got the she vest. So you got the InvestHER and she got the she vest.
I like that too.
Yeah. But it sounds like you guys could have some interesting collaboration there potentially, because it sounds like you guys have a lot of similar goals, which is awesome. Put those powers together. But I want to kind of shift right now into the final segment of our show, which is called the Final 4. These are 4 questions that I ask all of our guests. And so for you, Liz, first question: what is the worst job that you ever had?
So I folded a lot of clothes. I worked in a department store and just folded clothes and jeans. And literally, I just remember looking at my watch, like, is it break time?
Yeah.
It is my, and I work hard because that's just how I was raised, but that was pretty monotonous. Literally just folding clothing all day. It was pretty tough for me.
Yeah. Anyone who has, aspirations for anything more in life than, the kind of monotonous work, it's difficult.
And no one really talked to me. No one even needed help, because they just knew, when you go into department stores, people know what they need and want. That which was more my interest of like, hey, can I talk to somebody? Well, nope, just stay there and fold clothes. And I was like, oh God, this is tough. This is tough stuff.
Yeah, sounds like something not for most people, but I'm glad you elevated, you grew out of that stage. No, but a lot of us start with those kind of tedious, monotonous jobs and realize really quickly that that's something we are not built for. We're meant for
Yeah.
something much greater. So, second question: what's a book you've read that's given you a paradigm shift?
I'm rereading it now, and I read it probably 20 years ago, but Awaken the Giant Within by Anthony Robbins. He hasn't written many books. I mean, obviously we all know of him and
Hmm.
his impact, but I think he's written like a handful of books, but it's probably one of the best books. It is a big book, and it's really about paradigm shifts around our mindset and just really
Yes.
important things about the meaning we make of things. And just I'm rereading it again. I haven't read it in a few years, and it's one of those books I need to read every few years because it's just chock full of strategies and ideas. Very, very full book of
Yeah.
suggestions.
And he's all about, having your mindset in the right
Yeah.
place. And that's like 90% of everything, right? Is that
Yep.
100? Yeah, that's awesome. Third question for you: what's a skill or talent that you would like to learn?
So, as we kind of, I love one of the books I love, and I think it's called the E Quadrant, a Robert Kiyosaki book. One of his books, it had the four quadrants.
Yeah.
Basically, it tells you about being an employee, self-employed, business owner, and an investor.
Hmm.
So, as we are either selling assets or just, developing our long-term, wealth planning, my husband and I, certain things are happening where, we're looking to passively invest, not just always be the active. I mean, when you syndicate and you're on the GP side, you're active,
Yeah.
you're in the throes of it. Right. And we're,
Hmm.
we're continuing to grow that business. But, we've been doing this a long time. And so we really want to start to like just become more passive in some ways and start to shift that pendulum, if you
Hmm.
will. So, we've worked with a lot of private lenders over the years. That's pretty much how we grew our business. But now, if you're on the other side of it, right, you're going to look at things a little differently. So I'm really excited about, and the things I know are great, but I want to learn even more about just the power of, compound interest and,
Mm.
learning more about how to vet not just a property and a deal, because I know how to do that, but more so like, the operator and just the paperwork you need and just all the things that are really important if you're going to like, take it on, not just privately lend once, but really, ongoingly as a
Right.
strategy. And we have someone we're talking to, and he gave me so many great ideas of just where you even put that money and how to leverage and just good stuff. So again, being in the business and working with private lenders, you'd think I know a bunch, which is a great start. But I really want to like step up my game of being more kind of fiscally smart and
Hmm.
mitigating risk and just getting into that space of the passive investor hat, if you will.
Hmm.
So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to even become more, have more tools in my toolbox so I can make sure we're making the right calls and decisions.
Absolutely. Yeah, everyone needs to do that. And each one has their own ways and their own I think it has a lot to do with education. Like you said, you have had the experience of being on the
Yep.
borrower side so many times. So you kind of see it from that perspective. But there's so many different ways that you can invest or build wealth. And even within real estate, there's so many different
Yeah.
avenues and channels to do that with. So yeah, gotta utilize as much as you can to
Yeah.
build that wealth.
And,
Great.
and 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 people will do it with us where they just go then, hey, I want to invest with you so I can learn. And we're lending on a mobile home park and a tiny home project in Florida, and I'm like so excited because my husband and I are like, let's just go down there and check it out. We want to do that anyway because we're funding money, but I'm pumped because we don't have that in our investment portfolio. We're very heavily into multi,
Right.
so I'm just excited about just diversification of
Sure.
learning the different asset classes that I'm not as familiar with, right? So anyway, so yeah,
That's
it's
pretty
kind of
cool.
like a whole new world, but it's exciting because it kind of gets you back to like learning the ropes again, which you can get a little complacent if you're doing something a lot and you just want to, get into something new.
That's cool. Yeah, try out new things and see where it takes you. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, by the way, Matt said he wanted to speak another language. That was his skill or talent that he wanted to do. So I
There you go.
just so you know.
I'll think about that, how I can make sure I can contribute to that.
But the fourth and final question is: what does success mean to you?
Success has evolved too, I think, for me. I think success now in my 40s is all about, not just time freedom, because I feel like I have that. and not just about money freedom, because I feel like we have that, but it's more about like feeling really good about what you're doing and impacting the world and impacting people.
Mhm.
So like really spending my time very intentionally. That's what success looks like. Making money for money's sake probably would have been the reason we started, back in the day, right? We wanted to make an impact, but just being able to make money was huge, right? You're in your 20s, you're figuring things out. You're just like, I don't want to work for someone else for the rest of my life.
Right.
So that has evolved to, okay, how do we make the greatest impact in our kids' world? Like, what can my kids are young, so spending time with them and teaching them what I know, and hopefully they'll pick up some of these things from both of us, and obviously impacting the world and helping a lot of people,
Mhm.
and learning more about myself and how I can be a better version of myself, I think is also success. Because I can just put my head down and work really hard. That's easy for me. I've done that most of my life. So just being more mindful of the intention behind things, and that's what success looks like to me. And having a
Awesome.
good mix of everything. Because I do love working. I do love getting into things. I'm not someone who's ever going to like lay in a hammock and just hang out. That I do like to do that when I
Right.
need to relax, but
Yeah.
that's not my, I'm not drawn to that for my life,
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I help a lot of people along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of us relate to that in terms of you want to make sure that obviously you don't relate the fulfillment with just complete relaxing, right? That's
Yeah.
not what it's about. That's
Right.
obviously a small component of taking that time when it's needed, but doing something right and doing something good for the world and for those around you. And I think
Yeah.
you're doing that with the community you're building as well. So commend you on that. And it's great to have spent the time with you here today. And I'm really looking forward to the InvestHER, the Level Up Summit coming up in a couple of weeks. So I hope everyone listening to this will check that out, and hope to speak to you again soon.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
No, my pleasure. And to all our listeners, remember, the best advice comes only when you ask. Real quick, I have one question for you. Did you like this episode? If you did, I want to ask you a huge favor. See, the biggest thing that helps this podcast grow and that will spread this message to the whole world is that if you leave a review, a rating, and subscribe to the podcast. What that does is it basically tells the platforms that this podcast is out on is that you like my stuff and I'm doing something right. So take a few seconds out of your day, hit that subscribe button, leave a rating or review. I would be extremely grateful. Also, I want to hear from you guys. So I want to hear some feedback. If you have any questions for future episodes, please find me on LinkedIn. Send me a DM, a connection request, Yona Weiss, and I'd love to hear from you.